Hey there, are you grieving the potential loss of a loved one or feeling overwhelmed with the loss of someone you care about? If so, you're in the right place. Lisa Hartung here, and this podcast is designed to guide you through topics surrounding death and dying. We'll dive into multifaceted aspects of grief, offering you a blend of personal stories, expert insights, and practical advice for your grief journey. May this be a safe space for you to learn, listen, and ask questions about your own life and loved ones. So grab your favorite beverage and let's dive in. All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Giving Grief Grace. And we are in a mini series right now. We have Ian McCartor with us of the Ash Rose Foundation. Last week, we talked about the Ash Rose Project and how we're sharing the experience of Ian working with me on my grief journey, sharing mom's light and stories in a new way. All the meanwhile, I'm sending mom pieces of a little bit of mom out to Ian in California so he can incorporate her into a beautiful ash picture, or portrait, or work of art. We're walking through part of the grief journey is just about verbalizing your grief and walking through different times in your life of when things have been hard or when they're joyful. And so Ian's put together such a meaningful 30-day, not a workbook, but a journey. And so I've been journaling about these questions that Ian presented. And so today we will kick off week one and discuss. Ian, this week was all about honoring the past, and it definitely brought up all the emotions. And so I'm excited to chat with you about them today.
Yeah, week one's usually the most emotionally intense. It's so much reflection and remembering so many different things that bring up, like you said, the spectrum of all those emotions. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what came up.
The focus for us was reflecting on memories and deepening our connection with our loved one as Ian begins the art process. So, for listeners, one thing that you do need to do is send your loved one over to Ian. And so, we've been storm prepping here, and so I haven't sent mom yet, but she will be there this week. So,
Once the
excited.
ice slows down just a bit, I'll
Yeah.
make sure she has a safe journey.
Yeah. So, Ian, I'll hand it on over to you and um, feel free to ask away.
Yeah, yeah, and just, for listeners and just to reinforce kind of the rawness of this point in the journey is, as we've discussed last week, we just started consolidating some imagery and some meaning and stories and symbols that we're starting to weave together. And so now, really, as far as the metaphor goes, this is tilling the soil. This is what the flowers will bloom from. And so it's kind of cracking open all those things and, you know, bringing things that may have been a bit more dormant or congealed and opening them up a little bit with the feeling and allowing those emotions to come through with those memories. And really, I think that's where the impact of transforming the memory into your current experience in your present moment, and then looking ahead later into the future and to have that imagination or the visualization of hope and what all this will inspire for the future. It's a very special week in the process, and so we'll just gently walk through each question, and I'm honored to bear witness. So, and as the metaphor of this emotional aspect is kind of like in the sketching process. It's like we're a
Mm.
little messy, and it's tears can come, whatever may come, and it's all just about getting it out and onto the table or onto the paper, as you could say. And
Yeah.
then that way we can we can start to move things from there. And from an analogies um, perspective, that's what's happening with the art also. It's allowing it to be and just being open, and then allowing it to take form after this point. So we can start with question one.
Yeah.
What are some of your most cherished memories with your mom?
Mm.
So I loved painting on location with her. We either were down by the water at our summer house by the lake, or she would go to Lubeck every year, um, up in the down east in Maine. But she also brought me to Ocean Point once. Was so much fun just bringing, our painting, our watercolors out to the rocks and just painting on them, which is so fun. And then when I studied abroad in Italy, Mom and my sister came to visit me in Florence, and I took them to the Amalfi Coast. And so we just had a girls' weekend in Sorrento. I took the boat over to Capri, and I would say like that is heaven on earth. I think we all were just at the top of the hill in Capri, overlooking the beautiful coastline of Italy and the flowers there, and the scent is just, oh my gosh, it was just so perfect. And so I remember that day and the feeling of just how cool it was that I was in Italy and my mom and my sister came to visit. Um, and then we went to Venice and we got all of the different kinds of gelato for our train ride back to Florence. And so we had this like humongous assortment of gelato flavors in front of us. And we were all trying them. And that was it's just fun things that we'd do as girls, right? And
Style, if I've ever heard of it. All
yeah.
the flavors of
You
gelato.
get all the flavors and you try them. We would do that with chocolates too after Christmas when we'd go shopping. We'd just bring a box of chocolates and that was our lunch and we'd each try little pieces of each. Taking road trips with my mom. She grew up on the coast of Maine, so we went to Popham Beach a lot, and how we just always had really fruitful conversations while we were driving around in the car. And then one thing that I really valued about my mom, which came up a couple times throughout this week, was she was always adamant about having girl time. She's a mom and a wife, and a daughter, but she was always driving home that your friends are there through it all, right? Your family you're given to you, but your friends are your chosen family. They're with you through and through. And so she would always have girls' week where her girlfriends from college would come, the wild women, and they would come to our summer house every year. And so, and then all of their kids would come too, and all of us kids would, put on performances for them and dress up and do fun things. After I moved to North Carolina, I would now host Girls Week in North Carolina, which was fun. And we haven't done that since mom passed. So writing about this was like, okay, need to start this up again.
I
Because,
think so.
yeah, it's all ages. And so just so many fun trip memories that I had with her. Yeah. Mm.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. The last Mother's Day that she was alive, we were having a girls' week in North Carolina, and she got really sick. She was in the hospital for 3 days, so I went and stayed with her. And on Mother's Day, I painted her nails in the hospital room. Wouldn't advise, they don't like that, but it was fun. And then she knew that she wouldn't be able to go to Monet's garden, so we did a
Mm.
virtual tour of the garden together.
Oh, that's
So
special too.
yeah, that was special during our girls' week. So she was like, "We need to get out of here. We need to go have fun. We need to have paint on the beach
Get
and
these
have
IVs out of
dances."
my arm, right?
Yeah.
Something out of a movie. I'm out of
Yeah.
here.
So we were able to leave the next day, but and have a great time painting on the beach. But
Mm.
yeah, so fun.
Beautiful memories and beautiful traditions to remember. And at the right time, start again.
Yeah, yeah.
Girls Week. Gotta have them.
You got to have the girls' week. You could bring your girlfriends in, and then when you bring the kids in, they brought the husbands once, and then they all decided, girls' weeks should be girls' week. It's just a different element
Oh,
when
yeah.
you bring the family members. So, yeah.
Yeah, a little more distracting, to say the least. Mom mode kicks in or wife mode kicks in, but it's gotta be girl mode.
Yeah, just girls. Girls just want to have fun. So,
Yeah. song rings true.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for sharing those.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. Anything else on that one, or would you like to move to the next one?
No, I would. We were talking before we started recording about the Duke Gardens, and how mom and dad used to come down, and we would always go to the Duke Gardens. And so we did sprinkle mom in the Duke Gardens when dad came down last to visit. And just seeing, because spring starts so much earlier here, it's really joyful to go to the gardens and see all of the blooms while they still have snow in Maine, usually. And so it's just again that new life and going out to Asheville to the Biltmore, going to their gardens, and you know, yeah, one year they brought Grandpa down when he turned 90. So we had
Wow.
a great, we did a road trip from Kitty Hawk, North Carolina on the Outer Banks all the way to Asheville. Or I ran a marathon, so I ran the Peak to Creek Marathon. They all came out to the mountains and watched. So that was fun. It was we literally drove across the whole state in a week. But we had a great time. It was awesome. And that was one of
Yeah.
mom's highlights when she was, doing a life review. The road trip with the whole fam
Hmm.
brought her so much joy. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, road trips are special too. It's different with the memory being the journey and not just a destination.
Yeah.
Classic. But, they're very exemplified. That phrase is exemplified in road trips for sure.
Yeah, and just, pulling off and going to see like, oh yeah, there's in Winston-Salem, there's a Shell gas station that's like an actual Shell, a bright yellow
Oh,
from
wow.
it's no, it's out of order, but it's one of those like roadside attractions. So I was like, okay, guys, we have to go see this. It was pouring down rain, and no one else wanted to get out of the car, but my mom and I put on our rain boots and umbrellas. We went to go take pictures with it.
And it's that spontaneity that makes even more special types of memories,
Yeah. Yep.
unexpected stuff to just go for it.
So true.
Yeah.
So that was a fun one, going down memory lane and seeing, one of the top memories.
Hmm. Yeah,
Yeah.
good, good. It sounds like there's hundreds of them
Yeah.
just in there waiting. But good. I'm glad you were able to feel some warmth with that one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good.
Being in the garden at camp too is just there's so
Mm.
many memories of just being there. And that was the thinking place, right? Or the coming together, bringing everyone together in the gardens.
Mm.
Oh.
That's in Maine. That's your family garden?
Hmm.
Camp Dew?
Yeah, at camp. Yeah. So,
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, the garden is it's such a metaphorical location for gathering and for thinking and for processing life events. It's just that cyclic environment of rebirth. The seasons are so clear there. You see
yeah.
the flowers and then you don't. And then they're coming. And so there's that like the hopeful waiting. But to have the same location is almost like, a shrine or a temple of sorts. It's very sacred.
Yeah. Mom was adamant about staying at camp at the end of her life. And so I'm grateful that, Dad and I were able to do the caregiving right there. And we had hospice come in. And when they were bringing her body out, they brought her out through the garden. And there's an archway that mom and dad made. And I was like,
Wow.
you know what? Mom would have loved that. And they had a handmade quilt of all of these beautiful flowers and colors that they placed over her body. And I was like,
Beautiful.
yeah,
Yeah. It's those little touches, like that make those moments so special. That's a good hospice that you were working with.
yeah,
Speaking as a hospice nurse,
yeah,
those moments are so important to pay attention to, and just the way that the body's taken away. It's a ceremonial event. It can be, desensitized or hurried or all the things. And so, good memory. I'm glad that The archway and the flower blanket and the garden were all part of that.
Yeah. The funeral director showed up and it was his off day and he was wearing a floral shirt.
Oh,
And
how
we're
fitting.
friends with him because
Yeah.
he's done services for many of our family members. But we were like, of course, Leon, like mom would have loved your outfit. So thanks.
Much better than a suit and tie
Yes.
for
Yeah.
a guy like your mom.
So that was fun. Yeah. And sent her off in style.
Yeah. As you are now.
That's right. It's so true.
Just in different ways. Yeah.
Hmm.
Love that. Goes
Yeah.
on. Well, question two. How did your mom shape your life? Reflect on the lessons or values she instilled in you.
Mm. Yeah, this was a great one. My mom was one of five, and she was the middle child. And so she was always helping others. She was making meals. She was calling to check in to make sure that they were okay. Um, she always giving back was always such a foundation of our lives. Like every Christmas, we would choose through the Heifer Project, we would choose, do we want to give bees to a family? Do we want to give a cow to a family? What about chickens? So thinking about how we could help others and, volunteering. She was very active in the food pantry and with the historical society, Coats for Kids. And so just being that one to show up at your doorstep with a listening ear or a meal for your family is really what mom did. And so I think that that's something that she instilled in us. Maintaining connection. So that's where Girls Week came back in. It's like maybe you guys don't talk every every week or every month, but once a year you're all going to connect and talk about way back and make new memories. And so keeping up those like friendships is was so core to her well-being. And then hard work and integrity. So she had her business for 38 years and we grew up in the business with her. She started it when my sister was, I don't know, maybe 6 months old. And so we really had I started working at age 3 doing modeling and of the clothes
Cute.
that she sold and like telling people all about the toys in the store if they came in looking for toys for their kids and
What a
then
better rep than a kid who would
yeah,
actually
right.
play with the toys.
I'm
I
like
bet you sold
I
a lot.
I've tried these. They were always like, Emily, you have your kids working. But I loved it. Like it was so much fun. And I got to see everyone in town and that was just mom. And then being able to see how she held herself with such integrity, right? Doing the right thing even when no one's watching. And just the hard work, the compassion that she had. Like she brought work home and she was, going through catalogs with buyers and fun memories of, at Christmas time, she always sold really high-end candies and they would send them to us in bulk. And so we'd have to go package them up. So we'd clean off all of the surfaces in the kitchen and we'd sanitize everything. We'd get our gloves on. And then we had special, I don't know, like a heat gun. And so we'd package up all these fun candies so that she could sell them for stocking stuffers.
With the shrink wrap, you'd wrap it with
Yeah,
the heat
uh-huh.
gun and
And
everything.
we
Oh,
had a heat gun and like I don't know, it would like crimp your bags so that you
mm,
couldn't open them. So it was just fun. So that hard work, gardening, I think that when she was doing gardening, she would plan, right? So wintertime, snow's coming down. She's sketching out her whole garden. She's planning which colors she wants to be blooming when,
mm.
which vegetables does she want so that we can make these specific recipes. And then, planting the seedlings. So starting in the spring, getting all of the little seedling pouches together and growing them in the sunroom. It was such a metaphor for life, right? Of like how you
Yeah,
plan and sow and um,
so intentional.
so intentional. And then harvesting. She made this really cool teepee in our garden of beaver sticks that she and dad found. And so we would grow the green beans and snap peas up them. And then I could go and hide inside it when they were full. And we
Snack
could
on
go,
them.
yeah, and go have a snack in the garden. And then we have like cherry tomatoes around it. So that was just like life is fruitful, right? And so just that planning and executing and enjoying was something that I really take away with now. Mom was terrible with time management. She was just kind of like
An artist, what
walking
can you
to the beat
say?
of her own drum. Yeah, she's an artist through and through. And so I think I now am like, okay, I need to be better at timing and time management. But we relate to
Hard
everything.
one to kick when you try to live in the present. You know, it's like,
Yeah,
what time is it now? That's what
I
time
know.
it is.
She would like, she'd be like, oh, the sun's setting, so it must be golden hour. Let's go have a cocktail on the deck.
Mm,
She wasn't a huge drinker, but it was always fun. And then like road trips and stuff, she always be prepared. So we would always have something warm, water to drink, and snacks to eat. So she really instilled that in us and always be prepared. I think about that in life, in every aspect of life, whether that's at work or, for play. And so, especially now, I think she prepared me to be a good mom
mm.
with doing all of like the fun creative things, but then also being prepared with snacks and water and all the things. So, lots of life lessons I learned from her.
Lots.
Sure.
Wow. Yeah, practical and playful also,
Yes.
it sounds like.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So many gifts. Yeah, this one tends to be a tricky question for some. I wonder, what are the small everyday things you miss most about her?
Yeah, that you're right. That was the one that
Yeah,
just brought the waterworks. And I was like,
yeah.
ah. So I still have her contact in my phone
Mm,
because she was, on auto speed dial, and she was always the one that I would call. And maybe you find this a lot with clients that you work with, but text or calls, or she'd just be like, "Oh, I just called to say I love you." So that song, whenever it comes on, I'm like, "Oh my
I'm
gosh."
sure.
One thing that we always did was we would do bedtime routine together where we'd brush our teeth together and we'd like talk with our eyebrows
That's cute.
whenever we were visiting, when I was older, visiting camp and staying with mom and dad. And then we would hug before bed and say what we were grateful for about the day and how grateful we were for one another. And so I just miss that part about her. But in speaking with um, the medium was like, "Yeah, your mom keeps on showing me like this." And she goes, "Yeah, she's talking about there's some sort of routine that you do and she just wants you to know that she's with you." And I was like, "Ah, she keeps doing my bedtime routine with me. I love that." Like
With the eyebrows.
the eyebrows and like getting, washing your face. And so that's cool to know that that was something that the day-to-day thing that we did together. And I feel her during that time. So,
And that's interesting. Just, I don't know, something just kind of glimmered a little bit. A glimmer, I call it. But when you're doing that routine, it's the end of the day, the end of another chapter of your life, and
yeah.
you're looking in the mirror and you're seeing yourself.
Hmm.
And that message from her at that moment, it's just like when you see the mirror, do you see her too?
Mm,
As time goes on and as things
right.
change and every little thing after every little day. And I think there's something there. Yeah.
Yeah. When I go to her hometown, which is Woolwich Bath, Maine, people look at me and say, "Emily?" I'm like, "Yeah,
Mm,
you're too young to be Emily." So yeah, looking in the mirror, I do see my mom.
beautiful.
Yeah, so that's what I miss. I miss being able to play games with her. They called her the warden because she was always wrangling people in to play games with her. And so we would
Important. You're not
we would
going
play
anywhere
games.
until we play some Monopoly. Sorry.
The game warden. So I started doing that with Maeve on Friday nights is we have game night. My
Yes.
daughter, she's 4, so she's just at that ripe age to start playing games and start strategizing. So that's
Yeah.
something I miss about mom. But yeah, just the spontaneity, the fun, the games. Every day,
Yeah.
she woke up, she played solitaire. So now I do whenever I have a spare moment.
Mm.
to think of her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful. Well, and beautiful you're carrying that forward with your daughter every Friday.
Well, it's fun. It's just a great time, especially in the world of screens and, you're
Mm-hmm.
always so busy. It's nice to have intentional family time built in.
Mm-hmm.
That's your sacred time together. So,
Yeah, real connection.
yeah, and having meaningful conversations and just making memories.
Mm-hmm.
Hungry hippos can get really wild.
Yeah, that game's built for adrenaline, just pound those little hippos. That's
Yeah,
so
we played
funny.
avocado
I
smash
remember that game.
last
Avocado Smash? What's that?
avocado smash last weekend, and that's like a reaction game that she really likes the Raven game. It's all about an orchard and picking fruit from the trees, and you have
Mm,
to pick all of the fruit before the Raven gets through the orchard.
cute.
Yeah, it's really sweet. Mimi is with us when we're playing games for sure.
Mm,
Yeah.
all those little small everyday things.
Hmm.
And it's nice to reflect on those because you can recreate those in so many ways. Like new versions of those little everyday rituals that can be tributes to those memories where, instead of just putting them out or it's in the past, it's too painful to think about. It's like you can choose to reintegrate it into the new generation, like
Yeah.
what you're doing with your daughter. And that breathes life into it. And it's painful at first, and there might always be a little bittersweetness to it, but I think
Yeah.
that's really special.
The reading stories to Maeve, my daughter, after mom passed was really, really hard because that's something that mom and I always did together growing up.
Yeah,
But you're right, it does get better with time, and
changes.
now
Yeah,
it's, both of our favorite times is reading stories before bed. Yeah.
yeah, and she'll do the same someday. It's
I
just
hope.
spring and winter, summer and fall. Yeah. Well, thank you. Those are beautiful moments.
Yeah.
Let's see. Number four. If your loved one had a favorite place or object, what significance did it hold for them and for you?
And that's, it's the camp garden.
Mhm.
And I think one thing when she passed away, after they brought her body out, I was sitting in the garden and my husband and I were just swinging on the swing. And I had this beautiful wind chime that we gave to her
Mm,
about dancing with the daffodils.
mm,
So, some quote about when the light fills, you're dancing with the daffodils. I can look it up. The quilt. It's a cool quote, and we had that put on a beautiful wind chime. She loved wind chimes, um, and this was one of the special ones that they get. Anyway, we were sitting in the garden, swinging on the swing, and the wind chime started going. We're like,
mm,
"Okay, Mom, thank you." But I think the garden is so mom was one of five. They grew up, her dad was killed when she was 21. And so a lot of it was her mom being a single mom and raising all of these kids. And so I think for mom having this camp, her and dad bought it when I was 3. And so this was like their oasis. And
mm,
it was the idea of, you can do anything you set your mind to. And the theme was like create your own oasis. They bought this, they knew that they wanted to have a place that wasn't their home that they could go to and enjoy time with family. And so our camp really became a place where people would come and visit. We'd have girls' week every summer. And, mom had this beautiful garden that she would invite people in and just have tea or lunch or iced tea, on the back deck and like walk through the gardens. And so when I moved to North Carolina, she was not happy about it because her little girl was not just a drive away, because I lived in
mm,
Boston before that, but a plane ride away. And she always said, "Well, you have to bloom where you're planted, Lisa."
mm.
Um, and so, mom was planted in Farmington, Maine, and then they got this in the Belgrade Lakes areas where the summer house is. So she really, I just feel like her gardens were a metaphor for how much light she brought to life. And
Mm,
it was so meaningful for me to see her, that hard work, sowing the actual flowers, right? Planting it, doing it. and then maintaining it, right? I mean, she was out there weeding every day and then putting out the bird feeders so that that new life could come, and having a butterfly garden and the cross pollinators for the bumblebees and welcoming all of the life that comes in.
Yeah, and all the different elements to that life. It wasn't just about the flowers, it was about the birds and the butterflies and the bumblebees and just like the big picture of it all. And she seemed to be very aware of it and nurturing all those elements. And it's something, I'm hearing reflected in the friendships too, those blooms, it's the girls' week. That's how you keep the friendships and the relationships alive and connected, and it's so easy to fall out of touch with people, but
Yeah.
to have at least that occasion to look forward to every year, it keeps that presence there. It's not just, well, maybe someday we'll do something, but even if it was a year away, it's on the calendar, and it sounds like she
Every
really
year.
knew. Even if it
Yeah.
wasn't physically present, it was still like emotionally present with her friends, and
Yeah.
that keeps that relationship vibrant.
Yeah, she really instilled that. I mean, I am still so close with the girls I grew up with. There's a group of seven of us, and people are like, wow, you don't see that anymore. And I
Mm-hmm.
feel so grateful for that. Even my girlfriends from college, there's a group about five of us that are really close, and it's just being intentional, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's someone that said that like you can be the fun bus driver or you can just be a rider on the fun bus. And my mom was definitely the driver.
Mm-hmm. That's a great metaphor. Well, it's the glue that people talk about,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
after those people pass, there's the void, and they're like, well, the glue's gone. No one ever gets together anymore, and it's like, what do you do with that? Do you
Yeah.
see that, and you're like, well, who's gonna step up? Who's gonna step into that role and honor that person and all that they strove to maintain because it was valuable? I mean, it's a beautiful tribute to be like, I will drive the bus now. And everyone hop on, we're doing this next month or whatever, and that's a beautiful honoring of that person, and it's hard
Yeah.
work, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Stepping into
worth
that
doing.
role is a lot, Ian, and I feel like,
Yeah.
I'm getting there.
Oh, it's big shoes to fill, it sounds
I
like.
know.
Or new shoes altogether
That's
following in footsteps. How about that?
yep. Yep. Putting a Lisa twist on things, but yeah, she's
Yeah, your own twist. This is
mhm.
you. You know, you're transforming what she gave you. And
I
that's so
wish I
cool.
had her green thumb. I didn't quite get that. I enjoyed, being part of the garden. So we have like a postage stamp of land here. We're in our current house. So our next house, I've said, I want a place so I can have a garden and teach the kids, the
Hmm.
importance of the garden. So
Yeah, and all those beautiful lessons that kids just absorb so quickly.
feeling
Nature.
grounded and
Mhm.
doing meditation in the garden and hearing the
Life, birds,
birds.
songs, breeze in the
Yeah.
leaves, just
Ah,
the moment of living in that moment. And
hmm.
yeah,
Yeah. So,
kids do well with that when it's not just that.
right?
It's like
Staring at a screen all day.
open.
Like, mm-mm.
Yeah,
Let's get outside. Let's get our
yeah,
feet dirty.
yeah. Sounded like your mom knew that well. Passed that along beautifully.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. These questions were so good, Ian. So,
Mhm. Good. Good. I'm glad, I tried to get it to cover a nice breadth of subjects within reflecting on the past. So I'm glad.
yeah.
Yeah, so that garden, I feel it. Number five, write about your mom's personality and unique qualities. How did she bring joy, love, or strength to those around her?
Mm. Yeah. She was definitely, again, always helping people. She was selfless. My dad always was like, I can't take her anywhere. She'll talk to a rock. And, by the end
That's
of a
what I
flight,
did
you'll be best friends. And
with the rock.
yeah, right. At Thanksgiving, we were talking about the glue. So she was the glue, and she was one of five. So I have a lot of cousins on that side of the family. And so everyone knew Aunt Emily, and she would bring the fun, and she would have crackers at Thanksgiving, the ones where you pull and then inside is a
Like the
crown
candy
and a
ones and they
joke.
oh
There's a crown,
yeah.
a joke, and like a little toy. Um, and so I talked about this a couple episodes ago, but that's something that I now do with my family is at Thanksgiving, we bring the crackers and everyone has to wear the crowns while we're eating. And then you tell each other the jokes. And my cousin still carries one of the jokes from, probably 20 years ago in his wallet with him. And it always makes him think of my mom. Those little things that, she probably thought nothing of it. She was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to bring these. And it just became a tradition. And so, making fairy gardens with the kids, the grandkids. That was always fun. And bringing them inside when it got to be winter time. She just bringing the whimsy, right? I talked about car trips. So my mom was super funny, but she also is kind of out to lunch. And so we'd be like driving down the road and a good song would come on the radio and she'd start dancing and we're sitting in the car and she's like, look at my lap dance. We're like, oh my God. Like
That's
she's
hilarious.
like, yeah, come on, everyone do the lap dance. And I'm like, well, Mom, we don't really talk like we don't really
That's
call
so
it.
funny. You're like, actually, Mom, Google it later. Or just let her do it.
And
Keep those cute little quirks, right? Don't
we would
correct it.
we'd be like, with she was always a photographer, so we always had like film and cameras with us. So now in the new age with like cell phones, we'd be driving and she'd be like, "Oh, that's so pretty. Just slow down. I'm going to do a drive-by shooting." And I'm like, "Nope, you can't call it that, Mom."
Just don't say that too loud.
Like you're taking pictures of the landscape. You could just say that.
So
Like,
funny.
um,
Wow.
But yeah, or she'd be like, let's go poolside. And we would have a flotilla at camp on the lake. And she would come down with a whole tray of goodies and snacks and stuff. So bringing joy to life. And she always said, life's too short not to have an umbrella in your drink. So she would have her little iced tea with a little umbrella.
Gotta make a t-shirt with that or something. That's a beautiful little motto.
So she just brought the fun and the whimsy to every day. And didn't take life too seriously. I think I emailed you about this, but she would find like the most crazy sunglasses. So I actually have a pair of glasses that when I have to be like hard, when I have to write hard things at work, I just put them on because they make me think of her and like she's just fun, right?
Oh man, you want to like just soften a moment of seriousness, just put those glasses on. It's like, how could you take anything so seriously with cupcake sunglasses? That's a great idea.
I'm in HR, so I have to have a lot of difficult conversations. So, you
You're
know,
like, excuse me, let me just, we need to talk about your tardiness. We need to talk about your attendance.
yeah, right. So, it's that I take life too seriously many times and my mom didn't. And so I think there's a
Yeah.
happy medium. I'm learning to be more whimsical
Mm,
in all aspects, even at work. No one wants to work with a negative Nancy, right?
yeah. Much more fun to hear that you're getting laid off with cupcake glasses on the other
I don't actually wear them during the meetings, but it's good to
Right.
that I can visually see them off the screen. And I know,
Yeah.
like, okay, you got to bring the
It's a good
human element to
good
this.
little reminder there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all humans and we all
Hmm.
seek joy and happiness.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's just in a nutshell how she spread the joy.
Yeah. Beautiful. So many ways. I love
Mhm.
that. Well, question 6. How has reflecting on your mom during this process felt so far?
I'm glad that you incorporated this question because oftentimes we have our stories of our loved ones and we have our favorite ones that we share.
Hmm.
But it's not often that we take time to write them out or really think about them and how they make us feel.
Hmm.
And that reflection time, I think also just in life, it's always good to reflect because we are going so fast. And I had tears of joy. I had sadness. I had like a deep aching and missing her. just because she was so fun to be around. But you know what? Then I also thought of a funny story and just started laughing, right? And just the sweetness, the joy. And I end with just smiling and thinking of all of the bright light that she was and how her light is still shining. And my daughter brings her up so much. And Mimi would love this. And she's just a fun person. And so I'm grateful for that, the time that you and the space that you've created for me to go through this. And for anyone working through this with you and for listeners who want to do it on their own, I think it's just so cathartic to be able to
Yeah.
feel all the emotions. And that's the whole idea of giving grief grace, right? Is like you
Mhm.
can't just get over grief. It's always going to be there, but it's about the journey, right? It's about
Mm.
our garden changes in different seasons, but we still honor the past and we're planting the seeds for the future. And tears water those blooms, right? Without
Yeah,
tears, they would not bloom. So
beautifully
makes you
said.
savor the good times.
Absolutely. And remembering the permission to speak them.
Hmm.
I think so many people that I've worked with, and I'm sure you have too, it's just hard for so many people to feel okay with bringing these memories and the sadness and the ache, the combination of all of these things into witness to another. That's our intention with the process and the art. It becomes an icon of all these things that every time someone asks about it, or you gather and it's in the living room and people can say that's my mom, or that's my husband, or that's my brother, and the stories and the pain and everything can be shared, but in a different frame. Literally, I guess you could. There you go. It's reframed, and
Yeah.
part of a lot of moving through grief, the process of reframing memories is it's a big topic, and this is just a way to celebrate that possibility, by literally reframing and allowing those stories a different space in every day, and for them to be present every day, in a different form, and reminding us that that's always a possibility in every moment.
Hmm. To
So I'm glad.
reframe. Yeah.
Yeah, reframing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Number 7. In what ways would you like your mom's memory to live on in your life?
This was also a great one. I think one thing that I've been really adamant about while being a parent is parenting with my mom's whimsy. Even thinking when it rains to go out, put on your galoshes and your raincoat and just go have fun and do a rain dance. Keep telling her stories, keep sharing her light. And my family was very intentional, and mom was too, in saying like how she wanted us to honor her after she passed. And so we have a bench in her name at the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens. And
Mm,
it's sitting in a beautiful shade garden. And there's an owl sculpture that flies. Just you sit on the bench and you can see it. And owls were she loved owls. So just having a place, we don't have we cremated her, so she's not in a cemetery or anything. So the Coastal Maine Botanical Garden bench, it's like a very
mm.
artistic bench and fun place for everyone. And I get people who message me and like, I sat down to have a snack and I saw it was your mom. And I was
Oh,
like,
wow.
next time you're in Maine, you'll have to go to the Coastal Maine Botanical Gardens. But
Of course.
we love honoring her in that way. At the Farmington Public Library, where she used to take us every single week, we do an annual event, Emily's Planting and Blooming Day. And we
Mm,
invite all of the children in town to come. They can paint a plant pot, and then they get to choose either flowers or veggies to plant in the plant pot. And then they do
mm,
story time. And so it was, my mom was a literacy teacher and just loved making sure that kids had that opportunity of learning how to read. And then we can do, the creative arts and then getting your hands dirty with
mm,
actually planting the seeds. So it's just a fun day that we do every year in her honor. And then, part of this, I've always wanted to write a book about our escapades together. But the
Mhm.
day that she died, in the back of my journal, I wrote a children's book about how she instilled life lesson in the grandkids because the
Mm.
grandkids, my sister's kids, would go and stay with Mimi and Gumpy throughout the summer for longer periods of time. And so through her garden, she really instilled self-confidence and enjoying the small things and not being too anxious, right? Breathing in the garden and just being. I wrote out a children's book. And so, this exercise was like, okay, I get it. I need to actually do it. I need to,
Great.
yeah.
Get
So
it on Amazon Direct Kindle Publishing, and off you go.
I know. So this is the year of action. So I have to just build it
Mm.
into the schedule. But that's how, and I'm really grateful to be working with you through this and then to have, something to look at for inspiration after
Mhm. Mhm.
after we're through our time together and just think, okay, there's mom, she's there. She's with me. We're,
Yeah, and all these things, the layers within what you'll see, it's all what you're bringing forth now. And the intention is for that image to evoke not just a picture of a garden, but just the layers of meaning and memories that are within it.
yeah. I know a whole new book idea came or a book series came while I was writing
Oh,
journaling.
really?
And I was like, how cool is that? Like a
Interesting.
whole divine download here. So,
It's the power of journaling. I'm a big advocate of physically writing.
yeah.
It's an experience for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's something I journal every night before bed,
Oh, good.
kind of about my day, but it's really helpful when you have a specific prompt to then start you off. And then, I think is it Julia Cameron who wrote The Artist's Way that she just said,
Mhm.
write morning pages and you
Morning
write three
pages.
to 3 to 6 pages. Just write like whatever's
Just brain
coming.
dump. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And that helps you
Hmm.
process feelings and emotions, and especially with grief, right? It's so helpful. You can write to your loved one, and I've been told they can see what you write. So,
Of course, there's
yeah.
no limits there.
So, such a heartfelt week one, Ian. So, thank you
Hmm.
for bringing me on this journey.
Well, thank you for celebrating your mother and stepping into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's an honor to hear these stories, and it's a very intimate experience for me also, as the receiver of these stories and this love from your mother, and I'm really honored to receive her in the mail when she arrives, and to really listen to her as she's created into something new, and it's going to be very special. So thank you. It's an honor.
I think she's really excited about this adventure. She's-
Yeah, what a journey, right? She's going across the country and artists becoming art. That's such a beautiful thing.
yeah. And her one of her best friends from Girls Week lived in California. So,
Oh, really?
hmm
Coast to coast.
yeah, all right. So, thank you so much. So, for our listeners, we're capping out week one with the past, and then week two brings.
It brings essentially the theme of processing grief through creation. And
Mm,
just what a garden metaphor, really. It's so
yes.
on point. But it's exploring emotions, understanding how the creative process can support healing. And so
Mm,
it's transitioning from the past into the present, to where the third week is more about the full integration into the present. And then in the last week, it's looking ahead into the future, and really dreaming and imagining and using that creative faculty of what you can bring through that remembrance and all the things that you carry forward.
how special. You've really created a unique vessel and journey to help people with grief. So I really appreciate that, Ian, and I'm grateful that I'm able to do this work with you.
Yeah, I'm so glad. Thank you for being willing. It's a scary road, Grief is an uncertain territory for so many, and that's the beauty of working with people and in all different kinds of relationships to that loss. There's people There have been decades since a loss, and some that's been days. And,
Mm.
people who've dove deep and people who haven't yet. And, to work with you where you have a pretty prepared understanding of your own journey because of your willingness to go to those darker corners and to explore the light within that darkness. It's a special experience to document it and share it, through these episodes. So thank you for being that window, and from this work, through your work, to anybody who's needing to see a creative alternative for moving through
I love
grief.
that. A creative alternative. It's just so powerful to be able to grieve in a different way. And, I'm 3.5 years in, and it still brings up so much emotion, reflecting and going through. And I think it's good to feel the emotions and process our grief and talk about them. So,
Yeah, and
so
allow them to become something. Emotions are the materials that we bring into life, and when we're numb, we can't create.
I love that, Ian. When you're numb, you can't create. And it's also hard to go through life. And so that's
Mhm.
why talking about grief is so important, even if it's challenging. I remember in my mom's last week of life, we're sitting in the garden, and I'm just trying not to cry because I hated crying around her. And she goes, "You know what, Lise? You're going to do great things after taking care of your mom like this." And I was just like, "Okay, mom." Like, what does that mean? And so I keep thinking of her saying that, and I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe this journey is going to feel taking the breadcrumbs, right? And just starting where I am. And
Yeah.
what does great things mean, mom? I don't know.
Yeah. It means many things. Gosh, that's wonderful. What a gift to leave you with. Just it's almost like an assignment, like you are going to do great things. Mark my words. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah. So thank you for our listeners for coming along. So last week we had an introduction. This week was week 1, and we'll be back next week with week 2 and talking about creativity and alternative ways to grieve. So very intrigued and excited. So follow along with us. But thanks again, Ian, and we'll see you all next week.
Thanks so much for listening to this week's episode of Giving Grief Grace. If you found the content interesting and think it could help a friend or a loved one, please share it with them. Subscribe to this podcast and get a weekly dose of positivity. And while you're at it, please leave a review. If you enjoyed the show and want to support me financially on my grief journey, I'm raising funds for Project Purple, a nonprofit whose mission is to see a world without pancreatic cancer. And I'll leave a link to my fundraising page in the show notes. If you've lost a loved one and are looking for support in an online community, consider joining our free private Facebook group, Giving Grief Grace. May you be kind to yourself in the week ahead and give yourself grace. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you next week.